Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia Wishmeyer, and I'm the Student Director of Orientation for this year. Just want to thank you guys for coming out to the webinar. We're so excited to have you here. Tonight we have the Life Direction Center, the LDC, with Carol, and Employment Management Services, EMS, with Sharon. Both of them will be talking for about 20 minutes about their respective departments, and then we'll have the last 20 minutes for question and answers. If you look to the bottom of your screen, you'll find a button that says Q&A. You can use that to send us questions, and we will try to answer all of your questions in the time that we have remaining. So let's start by opening in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I just thank you for the opportunity to share this information with all of our parents here tonight. I pray that all of our communication is clear and effective and that we have no technology issues. In your precious and holy name, amen. And just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and can be viewed later at CCU's Campus Activities channel on YouTube.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carol Trejos, and I am the Associate Director of the Life Direction Center, very commonly referred to as the LDC. Unfortunately, our director of the LDC, Dr. Sandy Altena, could not be with us. She had a previous engagement out of town. So I'm happy to be here with you tonight and give you as much information as I can, as well as be available for question and answers. I've been at CCU for about 17 years and in the LDC for about 10, and absolutely love working with your students. Part of my role is supervising a wonderful staff of advisors. There are 10 advisors, and we all have a cohort of students that we advise, mixed majors and mixed years. So we have, again, Dr. Altena is the director. I'm the associate director. Derek Zeller is our assistant director. And again, 9 full-time advisors. Most of them are master's levels advisors and coming from different fields and have been in the LDC for a year anyway to 10 years. So I have a wonderful staff and it's a joy to work with them and to serve you. I'm going to show you a quick picture here if I can share the screen. Let's see if I can do this without messing up, but here we go. So here is, I think you're seeing that, but here is a picture of our advisors. Your student should have received communication with with their advisor, either through the SRW or through just emails. So they can be in direct contact with their advisor. And if they don't know that, feel free to let me know and I can definitely let you know who their advisor is and get back to you on that. But just wanted to show you again, here is the wonderful staff that I get to work with. They love students and is the main reason why they are serving as advisors in the LDC. So what do we do in the Life Direction Center, LDC? We do a number of things. The main thing is we do academic advising, life calling, and career exploration. What does that mean? That means if your student, depending on what they declare as their major, we assist your students with the academic planning for that. We have the academic timeline, depending if they're coming to CCU with credits. Without credits, we let them know how long it will take them to graduate in that major. Oftentimes, your students want to minor in something, and we also help them with that. If they want a double major, they don't have to, but again, some majors have an emphasis. We also help your students with that and kind of plan when their classes are offered, what the prerequisites are. So we do all of that academic advising with them. Ultimately, each student is responsible for their own graduation and being on top and knowing their coursework. Again, we are with them every step of the way, but that is something that we want them to take responsibility for, obviously. We also, another thing that we do is we're with your students and meeting with your students in terms of registration. So students register twice a year for their courses. In the fall, in November, they register for any winter courses or courses for the spring. And then in the spring semester, they register for fall or any summer courses that are offered through CCU. All the tools that students need to register are available to them. Most of your students have all registered through what we refer to as student planning. And that's where they choose their classes, choose their schedule, and kind of put all of those together. If any of you have your students that are potentially on a wait list, I know that's something that's it's on students' mind. If they're on a wait list of 3 or less, there's a really, really good chance that they will get into that class. So there's no reason to panic or stress about that. They will get notified when they drop into the course. I would say before classes start, the week before, if they feel like they're on a wait list and have any concerns, feel free to contact their advisor. And again, we will help them with that. So we use degree timelines, which is each of your students has. We use the academic catalog, and then again, student planning to help them register for their classes. Let's see here. Another thing we help students with, CCU offers tutoring for many of our academic subjects, and that is free to students. If they are interested in getting tutoring for a course, you might want to write this down, but you would email tutor@ccu.edu, and tutoring is free. So that is something if your students know that a course may be challenging, or want to get on top of their academic work and receive some extra help, to please let us know and check with that email. They would send their name, their student ID, what's the subject matter that they want to tutor, and we will work very hard to get them a tutor. There are some courses that we have tutors already for. Others, we try to get upper class students who have excelled in that course to be a tutor for them. It will look a little different this coming semester. Like a number of things are looking a little different. Mostly tutoring will be through Zoom or other ways to offer that, just to respect the COVID. But again, it will be offered. Another service that comes out of our office is study abroad. So if your son or daughter of your student is interested in potentially studying abroad, I would encourage them to speak to their advisor sooner than later, to let them know of their interest of that. And the reason for that is we would want to plan their timeline, their 3 or 4 or 5 year plan at CCU, to plan that accordingly. Because if they're going to go study abroad, we want to make sure that, again, they're completing their academic plan, and some courses are offered abroad, some are not. So we would have to change some things on their schedule. But that is something we highly encourage. I believe studying abroad is an excellent educational opportunity. So that does come out of our office. We work closely with a number of Christian study abroad programs, secular ones as well, but we do have some specific partnerships with some Christian study abroad programs that I believe go to about 23 different countries, spring, summer, and even some fall options. So if that's something they're interested, again, to please talk to their advisor. And these different study abroad representatives come to campus in the fall and the spring. So that's something that your student could talk to them about it and get more information for that. Another thing that we do in our office is accommodations and accessibility. So if your student received accommodations, any testing accommodations or otherwise in high school, please let us know that. And that is something that we can look at their plan and assist your student with any accommodations that they might need. In addition, each student at CCU gets to complete 180 ministry hours and chapel credits. Over the course of 4 years, that's 45 a year, very doable. They'll even get some ministry hours when they come for orientation. We have a couple different projects that we'll be doing there. But each of your students is responsible for keeping track of those service hours, their volunteer hours, and submitting those so that we have a record of those, because these are graduation requirements. So our office oversees the tracking and information and opportunities on ministry hours. There are numerous ways that students can receive these. You can get them doing mission trips. You can get them working with a local ministry, food bank, childcare at your church, worship at a church. Anything that a student is volunteering and serving the community is a way that they can get ministry hours. So if a student is at CCU less than 4 years, that is prorated. They get the number of hours for the number of semesters that they're at CCU. So chapel credits are through the campus ministries office, but again, they need 180 based on 4 years to graduate. Couple things that we do not do at the LDC is we do not do anything with financial aid. So if they have any questions with financial aid, anything with finances, that is in the financial aid office. We don't do any housing or meal plans. All of that comes out of the residence life office. So that's something to talk to them. And again, Chapel Credits comes out of Campus Ministries office. The Life Direction Center does have some social media outlets that might be good for you to join if you have Instagram or Facebook. This is something you could potentially write down, but in Instagram, we're at CCU Life Direction Center, and it could be good to follow. We often post deadlines or important dates. For example, when is the time to register, how you register, and all that kind of good stuff. And we also have a Facebook page, CCU Life Direction Center, as well. So that wasn't the whole 20 minutes, but again, I'm happy to answer any question that anyone might have. We are located in the George Whitfield building, which is right in the middle of campus. That's where all our offices are. If your student wants to make an appointment with their advisor, they can come by the Life Direction Center, or they can call, and I can give you that number. It's 303-963-3010 from 9 to 5. We are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and they can call that number. And obviously this fall, we're there personally. If they want to meet with us with a mask, we're willing to do that. We can also set up a Zoom appointment if that is more convenient and something that a student would want. Obviously, we could talk on the phone, but we are available. We are all back on campus and available to meet with students in any of those ways. Students often think we don't open on Fridays because they have Fridays off, but we are open on Fridays, and that's actually a really good day to meet with their advisor. But yeah, if they make an appointment, we are more than happy to meet with them. So thank you very much. Hope that was helpful, and certainly let me know if you have any questions.
There we go. Sorry about that. My name is Sharon Kitzmiller, and I'm the director for the undergraduate program here in Employment Management Services. And so what I want to tell you is a little bit about what we do here. We're specifically helping students that are the CUS students we're doing the job placement with them. And we're pretty different from what other universities do. So we have a staff of 4 people. Ron Rex is the director of the whole department. And then there's myself, and there is Diana Harrison. Diana Harrison is the one that her main role is to go ahead and work with employers and to go ahead and make sure that she's learning about the different opportunities within the organizations, the jobs that are best for the students in the community, and then she's forming partnerships with those organizations. So I'll tell you a little bit about what that looks like and how that's unique to our school, and also a benefit to the students that are coming. We have Christy Bowen. She's the first point of contact for our students, and she's the one that will sit down with our students, and this year or this semester it will be through Zoom, and she's going to basically find out what their schedule is, what their long-term goals are, what kind of work that they've done in the past, and really find out what their financial needs are, as well as their goals. And then she'll be the first point of contact to find jobs for them, and then she'll refer them on to me for higher level types of positions, especially for sophomores, juniors, and seniors that already have gotten some work experience. So just to give you a little bit of background about why we came into existence. We came into existence in 2010. And President Armstrong at that point in time and Ron Rex recognized that there was a really strong need to come alongside of current students within higher education and help them lower debt. Most students are and have graduated with $30,000+ in debt, and our goal within Employment Management Services is to uniquely come alongside each student and help them with paid positions. We only do paid positions, and help them to lower or end up with the lowest amount of debt possible from college. And so we only do paid positions, and then we have another program that's called the Jbs Credits, which I'll tell you a little bit about later, that can also assist students financially. So we came into existence. We also recognize that students are going to need employment along the way, not just graduate with a certificate with no experience. So that's what we do, is we really try to work alongside of students for 3 to 4 years and really help elevate their skill sets through the workplace. We have guiding principles that are really important for us as a team, but also for our students. And what that looks like is we believe that work is worship, work is excellence, and work is growth. So the first principle, work is worship. We really believe that the Bible really instated work from the very beginning when Adam and Eve were created. And we are here on this earth to really glorify God through the work that we do. And so one of the things that we really value is the opportunity to give back to the community and do that through our skills and talents. And so that's one of the first things that we really value and we look for with the students, is that they recognize that work is worship to the Lord. Work is excellence, and our employers are constantly telling us that I can tell the difference between a CCU student and our other workers, because they really have the integrity, they have the excellence, they have the work is worship mentality, and we really appreciate that employers are telling us that. And then work is growth. We recognize that work is not perfection. We all make mistakes, but we all want to do our work with excellence and with integrity and a heart to really learn and get better at what we do. And so that's what we really bring to the students, is that we look for that humility, we look for that ability to be able to learn from their mistakes and to be able to get better at what they do. So those are our guiding principles. The way that our process kind of works is that Diana Harrison will get a call from an employer, or we will seek out an employer that we want to have a partnership with. And we will let them know what the partnership consists of. And what that looks like is that we vet the students. So we kind of act like an HR department, in the sense that we market the position, we do a blind post to the students. So we tell them everything about the position, but we don't tell them the name of the employer, because we want the students to be routed back through EMS so that we can really vet them and not bombard the employer with candidates that really don't meet the qualifications for the position. This benefits the employer because they're not inundated with people that aren't qualified for the position. How it benefits the students is that we can give them that career guidance and the training and help them develop in the skill sets that are appropriate for their age level, as well as their skill level and maturity level, along with what they need financially, along with what their schedule works, being able to ask them questions about, do you want to go home for fall break or spring break or Christmas break, and finding the appropriate employers that fit within that desire of what they want. And so what happens is that we have this service for the employers as a free service. And in return, what we do is we ask them to at least grant to anybody that we send to them that's qualified for the position, that we deem as qualified, that they agree to interview that candidate. And in return, that partnership is created. It's a long-term partnership in most cases, where we have that partnership with employers. We really learn their culture, what they value. And so 90% of the time, the students that we send to that employer get the job. That's a huge benefit to our student body, because we are sending students to entry-level positions, but we're also sending them to positions, for example, in the ER, working as scribes, or working as accountants, or working in maybe it's a financial planner type of internship or things like that. And so 90% of the time, the students that we send to them, we've trained them, we've developed them, we've done mock interviews, resume critiques, identified what they are looking for long-term, how it relates to their goals, and we've really come alongside of them from freshman year all the way to graduation, really helping them to develop along the way. So the other thing that is a really neat statistic is that 95% of the time, the students understand what is required of the position, and so they stick with the job. They're not quitting after 2 weeks. They're not coming back to us and saying, I didn't have any idea of what I was getting myself into. We've had that conversation with them, knowing what their tolerance level is, knowing what their stress level is, knowing all of those different things about them so that we understand the trigger points so that we can have that discussion prior to them having the interviews. So they have a 95% success rate within the jobs that they are sent to. We average about 200 employers, and the employers are not always posting all the jobs all at once, but of the 200 employers, it's not unusual for us to have about 30 to 40 jobs listed, and then we'll be getting new employers in on a regular basis. As far as COVID is concerned, some of you parents might be wondering about COVID. We are having all of our employers sign we're having them agree to a verbal confirmation that they're following the CDC regulations. And so we're also having those conversations with students to make sure that they understand that they're going into a work environment and that there is some risk there potentially. But we are asking employers to go ahead and agree to that they're following those CDC regulations. I talked briefly a little bit about ways that we come alongside as students from a financial standpoint. We also offer what's called Jbs Credits, and Jbs Credits stands for Jobs Credits. What it means is that students can earn up to 24 elective credits towards their degree, which is 120 hours to graduate from CCU. They can earn 24 electives by working in a paid position that's a W-2 job. So that program goes through the EMS office, and some students have taken advantage of that because they either have a lot of electives in their major, or it could be that they recognize that, hey, I need to try to get out of here in 3 years for financial reasons. Or maybe it's a senior that has 3 outstanding elective credits and they just need to finish up. I actually have a senior right now that's doing 6 elective credits, and he's working in a full-time position. So what that looks like is that if a student it earns a total of 225 hours of work experience in 16 weeks or less, they're charged $250 as a class fee, and then they work during those 16 weeks or less, and then they let me know, and then I get confirmation from their employer that they've worked the 225 hours, and then they get a pass grade. So they can do that up to 8 times. A lot of students will do the Jbs credits in the fall of after their freshman year. They'll maybe work full-time at home in Nebraska or in Iowa. Maybe they're working at a Target or a family office or something like that. It's a W-2 job. Maybe they're working 40 hours a week. Maybe they're a youth ministry major, education. Well, education majors, we don't have a lot of electives, but maybe it's a psychology major, and they work the 40 hours a week. They get 6 elective credits, and it would cost them $500. So it's one of the ways that students can end up with less debt. I've actually had one student that she went overseas and she taught in South Korea her senior year, and I think she earned 9 credits that semester that year, and she graduated with her class, and she did that for less than $1,000. I had another student, he was training to be a pilot, and he got his pilot's license, and he ended up working, doing some work in that industry, in the aerospace industry, and he ended up graduating a whole year early. So these are just some unique ways that CCU comes alongside of students. So that's pretty much what we do. Prior to COVID, we were placing about 300 students a year. We have now placed 2,000 students since 2010. We are hoping to place probably another 100 students or so this fall or more, depending on how COVID plays out. But we recognize that students, they need to work not only for financial reasons, but also to gain experience within the workplace. And we have all different majors that we're working with. So it could be a music major, it could be an English major, a psych major, could be accounting. I'm actually in the process of getting all the accounting interviews set up for fall right now. And we place in all different levels. We've placed at Samaritan's Purse, we've placed in the emergency room, we've placed at Chick-fil-A. So it's really what your student is looking for, what their availability is, what their maturity level is, how much time they want to work each week, the stress tolerance, all of that. So we're looking at the whole picture. We're working one-on-one with each student. So, you know, that's what's the beauty of it, is that each student has their own gifts and abilities and things that they're looking for. And so we want to work with them to meet their specific goals. So that's a little bit about EMS. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer your questions for a few minutes. Otherwise, you can email me at ems@ccu.edu. And I think that's it.
Awesome, thank you, Sharon. So now, attendees, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. Again, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a little button that says Q&A, and you can use that to send our panelists questions.
We must have answered all their questions.
Now here's one question. Let's see. If a student wants to stay at CCU over the summer, would you help place them? Yes, absolutely. So we have a lot of students that will stay in the dormitories after their freshman year. They want to stay at CCU. And so they may have to pay for housing, but we can certainly help them find a position. And depending on if they have a car or not, also impacts a little bit about where we look for positions. But yeah, certainly we can help them. Okay, any jobs geared toward criminal justice major? Do I have to hit answer live? I'm not sure if I have to hit that.
You don't have to. I can just.
Okay. I haven't used the chat. Okay, so yes, we have 2 employers that we work with that are more in the security industry. So they have, once again, they have formed a partnership with us. So if your son or daughter came in, they're interested in that in the security industry, we would make sure that they can meet the minimum qualifications of what that employer is looking for. And then we would get their resume ready, do the mock interview, and go ahead and send them on to that employer, knowing that that student is in a place where they would have the maturity level to do what's necessary in that security job. So, so once again, that goes back to the vetting process of, you know, what they're looking for, what are their long-term goals, what partnerships do we have that are aligned with what that student might be interested in. And then if it does work, then we send their resume on, they get the interview, and then typically they're getting the offer. Okay. Okay, if a student worked full-time all summer long, what is the total potential number of credits they could earn? So typically, I wouldn't suggest they take more than 6 elective credits that they would earn over the summer, just because unless they're averaging, what they need to do is they need to make sure that they are absolutely getting in a certain amount of hours each week when they sign up for their credits. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to sign up for getting 450 credits in 16 weeks or less, and you end up, you know, 15 hours short and then get a fail grade. So, so that's pretty important for them to calculate with their employer, know how many hours they're going to be working, knowing that they have 16 weeks to complete their hours, and then they can calculate how many electives that they want to earn. Okay. Can a student have a work study and a job with EMS? EMS actually does not do work study positions. So that's, we only do employer positions off campus, with the exception of Sodexo, which is the campus cafeteria, and it's an employer that's not a CCU employer. and the bookstore, which is called Tree of Life, which is once again not a CCU employer. So work study goes through a different process through the Human Resources Department, and the jobs on campus are posted through HR.
But they could potentially, Sharon, have a work study job and then potentially EMS job. They could do both separately.
They could do both
Possibly.
separately. Yeah, if they wanted
Works.
to, absolutely. You know, if they have a 10-hour-a-week work study position and they still need to earn a couple more $100 a month and they want to get another position off campus, they could certainly find something like that with EMS. But once again, we would be looking at not just the financial needs, but we really see as the student's goal is to do well in school. And if they're working 30, 40 hours a week and they're flunking out of school, that doesn't serve them well either. So we're looking at all facets of capability, responsibilities, financial needs, all of that kind of stuff to make sure that the placements that we do make are successful. Okay. When do professional internships for business students typically start? I would say typically internships, most employers like to offer internships for students in general their junior year. There have been some students that I would say are outstanding students that are go-getters that look for opportunities and have had enough experience that employers see them as a top candidate their sophomore year. But once again, to get going and not wait on your junior year to start getting experience, I really believe that you can develop soft skill sets and hard skill sets through just working, building up that experience, learning how to balance work and school, maybe 15 hours a week. 10 to 15 hours a week as a freshman, and just get used to learning how to manage that additional thing in your life. So, so that's, hopefully that answers that. But professional internships, junior and senior year. Do athletes have service hours? I think that's Carol.
Yeah, I can answer that. So do student athletes have service hours, almost ministry hours? Absolutely. They are students at CCU, so it is the same 180 for over 4 years at CCU. The neat thing is that a number of different athletic teams do service trips or do service projects together. And again, any of those, I know a number of times different teams serve at a food bank, a local food bank. So that will count towards your ministry hours. If sport teams go on a mission trip, that will count towards their ministry hours. If they do any local outreach to, different schools or anything like that, those will also count as ministry hours. So, yes.
Okay, is an internship required to graduate? Carol, you are in this field. I know that it's required for some majors.
Right, and that is true. Correct, Sharon. Yes, there's a few majors, not as many as we've had in the past. Again, we strongly encourage EMS. We strongly encourage, we actually try to encourage our students to do their ministry hours in an area where they potentially want to gain experience, to volunteer somewhere and start making some connections, making some contacts. It's a wise way to do that. But there are only a few majors that require it. I believe strategic communication, some of the communication majors, youth ministry requires an internship. So just a few majors require it. But it doesn't mean they can't do them, certainly through EMS or any other ways or volunteering somewhere to get some experience. So, okay, I think the next one's for you, Sharon.
Okay. Okay, are freshmen automatically enrolled in EMS, or do they need to reach out to EMS and schedule a meeting themselves? Great question. No, they are not automatically enrolled in EMS. So parents, it's really, we really want them to start becoming more and more independent, as I'm sure you do too. And so that's really important for them to recognize that, hey, I really do want to start getting some experience that will help me move in the direction of my career or gain the skill sets that I know I use in my career. And so that's where we really want them to reach out to us and start building that relationship. And really it is a trust relationship, because when we're sending your son or daughter to an employer and we're putting our name on the line saying, hey, this is a great candidate, we've vetted them and we know that they're going to do a really good job for you, especially at higher levels. That takes time to build that trust, and it takes great references. And so that's why starting off their freshman year, or even second semester of freshman year, if they need some time to kind of get rolling here, it helps build references, and those references then can be used for positions down the road that can help us to be able to place them in different levels of jobs as well. But we can, once again, yeah, they need to reach out to us. We'll figure out what type of position is best for them. We might give them a couple options, and they might make the final decision of where they want to go. But it's really a matter of them understanding that your diploma without any sort of experience, you're going to have to figure out how to get that experience at some time in your life. And so we recognize that during college, that's a really good time to build on that.
So for parents to know, this information that we're giving to you is also information that all incoming students will receive through their freshman year integration course, commonly referred to as FYI. So we do these presentations, we offer all this information to students in that FYI class. So they will be hearing from us about registration, about EMS, a number of services here on campus. So your son and daughter will get this information as well.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we'll leave just a couple more minutes for questions. So again, if you have any more questions, just hit that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen and let us know.
Quiet group.
All righty, well, it looks like there are no more questions.
Oh, there's just one.
There we go.
Oh, two.
Come on, guys.
Are there any jobs available on campus? So the first thing that you want to do with a job on campus is make sure that with your FAFSA that your student, son or daughter, can qualify for FAFSA. And I believe that goes through the financial aid office, can usually help you know whether that's how many hours that your son or daughter can work. Some have 10 hours a week, some have 20 hours a week. It just depends on what your FAFSA came back as. And then yes, there are, I don't know what the specific jobs are, but I know that there are definitely work study positions. Most departments are, you know, whether it's student life or whether it's accounting, the office, accounting office, or even EMS has hired some work study people. There are multiple offices that are hiring students when they come on campus. The biggest thing to do is for your son or daughter to be really proactive and to go to that department, in my opinion, not just to fill out the application online, but to actually go and talk to somebody in that office and let them know that they're interested in working for that department so that it could potentially move somewhere.
Another opportunity for students is there's a number, there are probably, what, Lydia would know this better, but over 200 leadership positions on campus that often come with a stipend. So there are a number of offices. I know in the Life Direction Center, we have a number of, we call them internship positions that are stipend, where students can work in the Life Direction Center, you know, for certain hours a week. It's not a work study job, it's a kind of internship leadership job, and are able to get a stipend for that. So those are also available things you know, that students can, and I would encourage them to do it, is, you know, to look into that as soon as they come and kind of start building up so that their sophomore or junior year, you know, some of the being resident assistants or some other positions, you know, bigger positions on campus, if typically if you have some experience in that, you're more likely to be, you know, to qualify for those. So if they don't have work studies, certainly these leadership positions are great opportunities to build a resume, to get experience, and also get a stipend with that. So
Yep.
next question, a little off topic, however, how many ROTC students do you typically have here? That is a great question, and I wish I knew the exact number. One of my advisors does, that is his service area, Michael Finifrock, a wonderful staff member. My guess is probably 5 or less, maybe 10 or less. We don't have a huge ROTC number of students, and potentially some of that is we offer it, both Army and Air Force, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But the students typically have to go either to Colorado School of Mines or to CU Boulder to be part of the ROTC program on that campus. So, but we work with them, and we work with their, you know, with their officers, and certainly they can get some academic credits for that. But their training is off campus at one of those universities, depending on what program they're with. So I hope that was helpful. If not, again, have your son or daughter come to the Life Direction Center, and Mike Finifrock, one of our advisors, is the staff member for that, and he can certainly help them out.
You guys are asking great questions. Thank you for your participation.
While people are thinking, or if they have any more questions, I'll also offer the ministry hours that I mentioned earlier. Some of those can be completed on campus. You know, of the 180, we do ask that 75% of them or more be completed off campus, because the desire with that is that students are reaching out to the community. But there are 25% of the 180 that can be, you know, on campus, and sometimes RAs get those, D group, discipleship group leaders. You know, we also offer Harvest Carnival Festival on campus. That actually is reaching out to the public, but students often volunteer or serve in those capacities and can get some ministry hours for those as well. So
yeah,
we can do some on campus. The majority of them, we do ask that they be off campus, but and we ask students to do those, you know, throughout their time at CCU, to not wait until their junior or senior year, because that can get, both for chapel and for ministry hours, because that can get really tricky and really hard to complete. And if you do not have that completed, you will not get your diploma. And that is a bummer when you have to wait an extra semester or a year to complete chapel, or, you know, especially chapel, because you can only do those during the semester. But so not a bad thing to ask your son or daughter periodically where they are with their chapel and ministry hours. To little encouragement there.
On that note too, is that employers, some of them will require to see your diploma. And if you get your diploma 6 months after you were hired, like the date that you get your diploma is actually the date that you graduated, not when you know, not when you
Right.
walked with your people So sometimes that can come back to bite you if you're 6 months or a year out and your employer has hired you and they expect to see that graduation diploma from a year before. So it really can. In fact, I'm working with a student right now and he's like, I need to know by Thursday that I have my diploma. And he's got a job right now that his employer wants to see that he's got his diploma, and because he's, you know, he is finishing up some ministry hours, and he's got to figure that out with his employer, because he's going to finish his ministry hours, but that doesn't mean all the processing of the paperwork gets done in a day.
Right.
So those are the important things that a student doesn't always recognize.
So we got a couple more questions here. Are you doing chapel during COVID? I wouldn't say, I'm not the expert in that, but yes, we are. In some, and Lydia might know more, in some fashion or not, we will have, you know, obviously by the standards and the guidelines in our county of how many people can gather together. And then other students will be able to see it, you know, online. So Lydia, you might know a little bit more, have an answer to that.
Sure, yeah. So the plan right now is that we are going to have chapel twice a week like we normally do. We're still throwing around several ideas of how that's going to look. It could be remotely, all online. It could be in different locations across campus, and students will check into their assigned location to adhere with social distancing. We're working with the campus pastor on that. We're hoping to have an answer within the next week. And we will let you guys know when we figure that out, or your son or daughter will let you know when they find out.
And the next question, how many chapel credit visits per year? So to get chapel credits, we, like Lydia mentioned, we meet twice a week. So each semester, a student can, if they go twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday, they can get 30 chapel credits. If they go both semesters, they can get 60. That's 15 more than the yearly, you know, if you do the math, and that's fantastic. There are some students that do that so that their senior year, they can choose to go or not go because they've already completed their 180. I've never had a senior tell me that they were bummed that they were done, you know, and that gives them some flexibility. Let's say their last semester, they only have classes on Monday and Wednesday. That gives them Tuesday and Thursday to get jobs, to do internships. It gives them the flexibility. If they still have to complete chapel, then they're having to be on campus on Tuesday and Thursday when they may not have any classes. So, you know, we speak to your son and daughters about this all the time to say to please complete their chapel credits. They can get 60 a year. In addition, we also, a number of times, the fall could be different, but in a non-COVID semester, we also offer a number of extra credit chapels at different times. In the evenings when we have guest speakers, student athletes have chapel once a month on Fridays and any student is welcome to go to that if they would like. So a student could really they could almost get 50 or more chapel credits a semester. So there's really no excuse not to get your chapel credits in a timely fashion. So yeah, with just chapel on Tuesday, Thursday, they can get 30 a semester. So hopefully that answers that. And, you know, again, there are some times if they're ahead of them too, if they have a big exam and they're like, well, you know what, I'm going to use this extra time, or I have a doctor's appointment and they're ahead on their chapel credits, then they're giving themselves some flexibility there. So that is our preference and hopefully something they can do. The worst thing to do, and we get a few of these, is like Sharon mentioned, is a student that thinks they're graduating and they have 20 chapel credits that they need to do. So then they have to wait until the following fall to do chapel online, which means they won't graduate until December of the following, you know, instead of May, their diploma will say they graduated in December. Trust me, we hate when that happens. But we're not going to tie your students up and take them to chapel and have them do their ministry hours. You know, so each advisor is telling their students where they're at with that. It's decreasing each year because actually starting last year, if a student is not done with 85% of their chapel or ministry hours, they will not be allowed to participate in commencement. You know, that because It's interesting how many students they don't ever need, they say they've graduated, but they don't ever need the diploma. And in reality, they have not graduated. So in order to stop that from happening and not having them say, well, I walked, I participated in commencement, I graduated. No, you have not. So actually starting last year, if they're not done with 85% of their chapel and ministry hours, by the time they complete their graduation application, they will not be able to participate in commencement. We're hoping that helps. So how do you keep track of and submit those chapel credits? Actually, your chapel credits, that's so easy. It's you use your ID card, and when you come into chapel, you tap, and that right there will get you, marks you as present. So it's just a matter of a student needs to have their ID card, and they tap and come in, and that keeps their attendance. It's all electronic and kept really nice for them. When we have extra credit chapels, we have the system where they can tap as well and get credit for being there. Good questions.
Mm-hmm. And speaking as a student who's going into their senior year and having completed most of my chapel credits, it is wonderful to have that flexibility, because my spring semester, I'm going to be able to look for jobs on Tuesdays and Thursdays and start making a steady income and being independent. And that's a wonderful thing to have. So EMS has also been great. I've worked with them. I had an internship last summer. It was great, $15 an hour, full-time over the summer. I got to stay in Colorado, and it was an incredible experience. I was able to network. So yeah, I really encourage your son and daughters to look at EMS, go talk to their LDC advisors. Everyone at CCU is here to support your student and help them succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't mentioned this. Chapel is on Tuesday and Thursdays from 10:50 to 11:40. And any parents that want to, you can check it online as well if you want to hear what your students are hearing. Could be a little different this year, but yes, chapel is available for the community to, you know, just to see those. They're also recorded, so that could be something that you see in the future as well if you're interested. Or if your son or daughter lets you know about an excellent speaker or something that they heard, you can go and listen to chapel as well. How do they submit ministry hours and make sure activities they are doing qualifies? Okay, so they will learn this. Your son or daughter will learn this. We have a program called Helper, which is an online program where they can see a number of different communities. Organizations love our students and want, there's not enough students for all the volunteer hours that churches and community ministries want of our students, but we post a lot of them there. So if a student wants an opportunity with kids, an opportunity with dogs, an opportunity with the homeless, with you name it, there are opportunities where they can, basically they have to be volunteer. And it doesn't have to be a Christian organization. It could be Boys and Girls Club. It could be, you know, a food bank that's not necessarily Christian affiliated, but is a place where they're volunteering. And then they fill out a form, and they do give the contact of the person that is overseeing that ministry or that organization. And then they write down the date or dates that they served and kind of what experience they gained there. It's a little form that they fill out, the number of hours that they served, and then the supervisor or the person, the volunteer coordinator, the person at the church will get an email and verify that that student did serve those hours, and then those hours are placed in the system. They'll know all the time how many hours they have. They can see that every day if they want to, you know, how many hours they have or they've accumulated. So they do submit them through Helper.
One thing to note about ministry hours is that they do, if you don't record them, they do expire after a year. So if your student doesn't record them as soon as they do them, if they don't do it within a year, they cannot qualify.
It's wonderful to see that our students do above and beyond what's required in ministry hours and are serving in so many places. So it's a great opportunity for them to gain experience, to gain skills, to serve in their community. And hopefully it's a lifelong skill that they're gaining, that we all have, where, you know, we volunteer at different places and are serving others. So that's the hope behind it as well. a lifestyle, serving as, you know, as followers of Christ, that we're serving in our churches or ministries or, you know, anywhere like that. So.
All right, final call for questions, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Is there a limit of number of hours volunteering at one organization? There is not. You know, there are a number of students that actually, you know, get 180 hours because for 4 years they've served at with the homeless ministry, or they've served at Westside Ministries, which is a ministry for, you know, underrepresented youth, and a wonderful, it's a Westmont alum runs that. So there is not a limit. They could get them all in one place. They can get them in 10 different places. You know, some students, if they go on a mission trip for a month, that's 40 hours a week. So they can get 120, you know, on my mission trip if they go, you know. So there's not, we do not put a cap on where they can get them, or, you know, they get them all at once. So there's lots of flexibility and lots of opportunities. It's up to each student how they want to do that.
Yeah, mission trips are a great way to get ministry hours. We have a program at CCU called CCU to the World. We send out mission trips every year, except for this year, unfortunately, due to COVID, all of our trips were postponed. But the teams are formed in October, I'd say, and they meet with throughout the year with their team, and they really get to establish a very strong bond. And then they go out either during spring break or summer on their mission trip. You can get a lot of ministry hours through that. Alrighty, well, I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight, and thank you to our panelists who took time out of their day to be here. I know that everyone really appreciates this. Again, this webinar was recorded, and you can view it later at CCU's Campus Activities channel. Oh, we did get one more question here. Oh, just a thanks. You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Sharon, good to be with you. Okay, have a
You
good night.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.